This is part 2 of the video brought to you by GetTeachingJob.com. For part 1, please click the red link here. Well, that certainly worked. You did get a fair number of interviews. Were there any questions at the interview that kept cropping up? Can you recall any questions that were asked fairly commonly?
Yeah, a number of them seem to keep cropping up. I've got a list here. Are you ready? First, what are your greatest strengths and weaknesses? What did you struggle with during student teaching? What would your cooperating teachers say about you? What questions do you have for us? What is your classroom management plan? What will be your policy on homework? How will you assess your students? How will you include reading and writing in your class? How will you handle a student with an IEP? How do you motivate students? What sports or clubs would you be willing to sponsor? How will you differentiate instruction? How will you prepare your students for the state tests? Tell us about a success you had and a time when you failed. Describe a lesson or unit that went well. The last one, what would we see if we walked in your classroom? Got that? I did notice that in middle school interviews, there were lots of questions on teaming, middle school philosophy, and integrating other subject areas. In high school interviews, I noticed there were more questions on lessons, getting and keeping students interested, preparing for state tests, questions on content as far as what students like best.
That's great information. I took notes. I'm sure it'll help many others. Do you believe in asking questions at the end of your interview?
Always, always. Always have thoughtful questions at the end of the interview. I think it's incredibly important because it shows you're interested in that district. Off the top of my head, here are some of the questions I've asked. What are you the most proud of about your school? How many students are there in each class? What kinds of facilities, training, and technology are available? Do the regular education teachers work closely with the special education teachers? What mentoring system do you have for first-year teachers? And so on. Listen out during the interview, and if they bring up anything special about their school, ask them more about it. This shows you're interested in them. At the very end of the interview, I'd ask what the next step was and when I should hear something. If you don't ask questions, they might get the impression you really don't care where you work. They might think your lack of curiosity means you're just thinking, give me a job, and that you feel their school is interchangeable with any other. They know you're looking elsewhere, but try to act as if you have standards and let them know what you like about them.
That's a great point. It's nice to be liked. But you know what? Many candidates aren't able to ask questions at the end because they just haven't landed interviews in the first place. That must be quite frustrating. Do you have any advice for qualified candidates who haven't gotten calls for interviews?
Sure, I've got some ideas on things to do here. First, make sure the principal of every school you're interested in has a copy of your resume hand-delivered or mailed directly. Next, have others check your cover letter and resume. You've labored over it, and you're just too close to it. Some parts of it will make sense to you, but will confuse others who won't get the point. You need help from others to find these blind spots. Another tip is to ask friends or family to think they're a principal, to put themselves in the shoes of the principal, and have them read the resume from the perspective of the principal, asking the question, is the candidate letting me know why I should consider him or her? Just because you have the correct certification, or went to school there, or need a job, or did your student teaching there, so what? And I'm not wanting to be mean by saying this. I just want to emphasize that the principal is looking for what you can bring to the school. Another thing, apply everywhere in your driving area. Only you know how far that is. And if you can move, that opens up greater possibilities. Apply everywhere, online, in the paper, talk to people. I also applied to charter schools and private schools. They don't pay as much, but they do provide experience. And if you find yourself in a glutted field, find something to set you apart. Do some volunteer work, start working on another certification, take a job as an aide or a substitute. And let them know in your cover letter that you're willing to be flexible. And look, if what you're doing isn't working, change tactics. Ask for advice and take some of it. Ask other teachers. Call a local principal and ask for 10 minutes of their time. Show them your resume and cover letter and ask if they can give you advice. A last point, keep on trying, don't get bitter. No one is owed a job because they're qualified. Many graduate from college and can't find work in their chosen field right away. Make a contingency plan to get you through. Many find permanent positions through long-term sub work.
I can see you've brought your life experience and sales training into the hunt for a teaching job. Do you have any other interview tips that you think might help?
Yes, I've got lots of ideas here that can help.
This interview series is based on Tim Way's guide, I Want a Teaching Job, where you'll find the complete printed version of this interview, plus other interviews in this video series. To find Tim's guide, just go to getteachingjob.com or click the link you see below this video. For part 3 of this video, please click the red link here.